Hi, Woody.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Um, Thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited to have you.
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, the pleasure is mine.
Amazing. So for those of you who are joining us, I'm Eliza at Whitewall, and we're joined this morning with Woody de Othello, who has an amazing show up right now with Nina Johnson Gallery. Um, so how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's ups and downs, to be honest. Like some days are good, some days are just like blah. But overall, I have a lot to like. Some days are good, some days are just like blah. But overall, I have a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah, COVID woes.
Yeah, definitely COVID woes, 2020 woes, emotional woes, political woes.
Absolutely. I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel, right?
You always gotta kind of like have that insight somewhere, even if it seems far off. Like, yeah, holding on to light is definitely the light is definitely the side you want to be on.
Yeah. Are you in California?
Yeah, I'm in Oakland right now.
And so is your studio in your living space? How do you go about kind of working creatively in Oakland right now?
So I have like I have a workspace at home where I'm at now, where I make like I have a workspace at home where I'm at now where I make like the paintings, and it's kind of like a think space. I draw here, I read here, watch documentaries, and then I have another studio or like separate studio that's primarily for ceramics. It's kind of hard to do anything else in there because everything just gets dusty. So I can't really paint and like have dust like all over paint while it's trying to dry. So I have to like keep those two spaces separate. I mean, we do a lot of like some like wood shop stuff too, so it's just like nice to have that little bit of separation.
Yeah,
Stuff too, so it's just like nice to have that little bit of separation.
yeah, amazing. So I wanted to talk a little bit about your ceramic works as well as your paintings. Um, but I wanted to kind of hear from you how you first fell in love with ceramics. Being kind of a Miami native and having an Haitian background. So, can you tell us a little bit about falling in love with ceramics and then kind of how it's kind of propelled you into the work that you're doing today?
Yeah, I feel like I took a class as an elective in undergrad, and like my friend Danny at the time was just like, dude, you should do ceramics. All this stuff would be so cool if you made them in ceramics. So I just like took a class like as an offshoot, just like an elective, not really expecting anything from it. And I remember the second that like I touched clay, something happened in my spirit. I always tell people like I knew everything about my past and I knew everything about my future. And it's definitely like playing itself true because there's a lot of things about like ceramics that kind of like hints at like some historical stuff like pre-colonial like objects and vessels, and it's just kind of like carrying me on like in my life. Like it's just like the one consistent thing that I always like seek out to make time for. So yeah, it's just I don't know, when something like just taps into your spirit, it's just like you can't deny it at that point.
Yeah, can't ignore it. I know also, you know, your ceramics. I saw last year Cool Composition at Art Basel. And your work has a really beautiful way of kind of acting as a metaphor for some larger ideas. So, um, can you tell us a little bit about maybe using ceramics to kind of explore larger ideas and what some of those are?
Well, I could talk about that piece specifically. So cool composition, it was just like this big old yellow fan.
It's
But
awesome.
yeah, there's like a lot of objects in my work that I always like go back to and like look at. I think of them as like breathing objects when you think about like, you know, our interior spaces as this like anthropomorphic entity. How does like air circulate? How does air like pass in and out? So things like air purifiers, heaters, like AC vents, fans are all kind of like metaphors for like just like air moving around in space. So I feel like yeah, that piece is down in space. So I feel like yeah, that piece is definitely along that same kind of like train of thought of like looking at these like kind of like mundane everyday objects, but kind of like magnetizing them to have a larger um like human connection. I mean, that's what like making something anthropomorphic is, right? Adding that human embodiment into it.
Yeah. And so, for those of you who are just now joining, the root of our conversation today is really kind of geared more toward coming to light your show at Nina Johnson Gallery. It's on view through January 30th for anyone that's looking to check it out. And it features some of those ceramic pieces and paintings that are kind of more. Tell us a little bit about some of the works in the show and then kind of how they relate to larger ideas as well.
I feel like that show is just like is like super personal, right? Like it's just like a lot of my own emotion went into those works. I feel like maybe around my own emotion went into those works. I feel like maybe around like June or July, I started making a couple of paintings. There's a painting in the show called Private Moment, where it's just like this figure in a shower, and there's like this ray of like water kind of like falling down on the figure, and it's just like, you know, the figure's in the shower with the figure, and it's just like, you know, the figure's in the shower with the shower head on, kind of camouflaging the fact that it's like crying. But then there's like this like weird stream of light that I was like working with um in a lot of the paintings. Like there's another painting in the show that's called Morning, Day, and Night, and it's a figure just like lying in bed, and there's like a curtain peeled through it, and there's like this ray of light kind of like beaming down on the figure. So I feel like those were the first couple of pieces that I started to make. And then I started like, I like the kind of like comparison or like looking at the figure, like some of it illuminated and some of it in a dark space. There's a lot of like, I guess like what I'm trying to do with the stuff, like playing with like opacity and transparency. So there's like windows or like glasses or like little, I don't know, like little things that you could see through, but then there's also shadow present in a lot of the painting. So I feel like there's like that kind of like tension going on with those works. And yeah, that kind of like just like help excavate some of the ceramic work. There are a couple like lights in the show. I feel like a lot of the vessels are kind of like they're kind of like I don't know. There's like yeah, they're kind of like in tension with themselves. There's like a moment of like contemplation or a moment of contention that I feel like is super similar to like the vibe of the painting. So
And these characters are kind of confronting themselves in a way that,
yeah,
and I think we read in Nina Johnson's wonderful release about the show that it was kind of a testament to the anxiety and the uncomfortable, nature of today. So tell us a little bit about kind of how that bled into the works. Maybe use one work as a specific example, if you could.
I feel like to be honest, like my work or the way that I navigate as an artist, like you know, when you're living in a certain like body, like it's always you're always living in this sense of precarity. You're always living in this sense of like tension. Um, there's like a piece in the work where it's like two vessels kind of just stacked on top of each other, and it's just like I think of them as being the same, like the same entity or the same person, the same like the same entity or the same person or the same vessel. And it's just like that self-containment, that self-pressure, that kind of like not being able to get out of your own head, or kind of like circulating and ruminating and kind of like self-defeating talk. There's another like piece that's like a huge like jug with a pick on the side of it, and it's just like, for me, it's just like cycling through different conversations going on in its head. It's just like kind of like stuck or immobilized by its own thought, and I feel like that's like kind of like stuck or immobilized by its own thought. And I feel like that's a sensation that a lot of us have had, like just kind of like, or at least I can't even say a lot of us, for myself, that I've had, just thinking about like what the future looks like. There's a lot of things to kind of, have us in a place of being like immobile, or like a place of like paralysis.
A very 2020 theme.
Your 2020 theme, 2015 theme, it's just a life theme.
Life theme. Absolutely. Um, and life theme. Absolutely. Um, and earlier this year, you were in an artist residency program, correct?
Yeah, and Kohler, Wisconsin.
Was that
Oh,
the
and
John Michael Kohler Art
yeah,
Center?
that was exactly. So I got there in like late January, early February, and was there for a couple of weeks and was rocking and rolling, really like finally getting a hand of like the mold making and the slip casting. There was like a lot of failure at the onset of it, and like right when I was getting comfortable, like right when I was just like finding like my groove and my mojo in the residency, the pandemic kind of hit, and the state of Wisconsin went into lockdown. So that was kind of like at the beginning it was like really intense, because it's like that's not home, quote unquote. We had a lot of support there, and like it was cool because like I became like pretty close with some of the other artists who were doing the residency, and some of the staff. Um, but yeah, I feel like at the beginning there were a couple of weeks where I was just like in that artist house.
Oh my gosh. So that was the beginning of your lockdown.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the lockdown. We were going through it.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So how long were you there at the residency program? How long were you there at the residency program?
I was there. I ended up driving back to the Bay Area. I think it was like late April, early May. So I got back to the Bay like around like just early May.
Hmm.
So yeah, I was there for a good chunk of time.
And so the works there that you were making there, were those ceramics, paintings, drawings, a mix of both,
So
all.
before I was just working on ceramics, right? So I had this whole idea to make like these like hope omens, like just like more positive sculptures. Like there are like these vessels with all these ears on it, right? And I felt like the vessels could be a place where you could like confine in them. You could like kind of like whisper inside of it, and it could like hold whatever you're like trying to like tell it. And then I was like making like these wishing wells, like, and I wanted to put different objects in these wishing wells. I just wanted the whole vibe of the work to be a little bit more like optimistic and hopeful. And I guess when I was like packing my stuff up to like head there, I just by chance just like I was like, let me bring my drawing material. And at the beginning of the residency, I didn't there was no time to draw. Like I feel like they're like you would wake up super early and just spend the entire day in the factory, and like it's just like super physical work, right? So it's just like by the end of those factory days, I was not trying to do any more art. I was just trying to cook some food and like chill out. And then, the whole pandemic hit, and I was like, I'm glad that I was like the whole pandemic hit, and I was like, I'm glad that I was like fortunate enough to have the foresight to at least just bring some drawing materials, because I don't know what I would have done not having access to the studio and just being in the artist house, like with like nothing to kind of like do. So it was like nice to be able to like channel that energy elsewhere, and it really kind of like just kicked up or kick started like the drawing and painting side of my practice.
Hmm. I'm sure at that point you're whispering into your hope omens, you know, any little bit of change or yeah optimism that you could in the beginning, especially of quarantine.
Yeah,
So
try and conjure up.
yeah, absolutely. And so those works that you created at the residency, will they be on view at the center? I read next year.
So there's some elements of that work that's on view at the Coming to Light show at Nina Johnson. There's like a wishing well that I made one I was in color that's in the show, and a couple of like brick pedestals that I was like experimenting with that are in the show. So I have all of the molds in my studio now, and I've been using some of them just to make some more vessels. So they're going to be elements of the molds that I have that are going to be in the show next year. So yeah.
Okay, great. And so for those who are interested in attending the Nina Johnson show, but can't make it in person, you can check those works out online, which is kind of a wonderful, odd scenario for almost every museum and gallery right now. But it's great that we can check it out online. Um, so I just kind of wanted to ask you a few more quick questions. We can hear a little bit more about maybe how your creative practice has changed during COVID and if you see your practice changing at all, or if there's anything kind of in response to the pandemic that has given you some more insight into how you're going to move forward creatively as an artist.
I mean, I feel like to be honest, I don't feel like n much has changed. It's kind of like weird because like all of my stuff before was kind of like really situated in like this domestic realm, right? And I feel like everything is just like a little bit more like magnetized or like magnified because all of us are spending all this time at home. So I feel like the stuff that I was doing before has like a different meaning now. I think one thing that's changed is just like realizing like or like owning up to how personal the work is, right? I feel like for the longest there was a huge part of me that was just like, oh, like this stuff is like about things going on elsewhere. Whereas now there's just like a claim, there's just like a claim of myself and like my kind of like being in the work, and especially with the paintings and making things that are a little bit more figurative, like it doesn't feel it feels weird to reference like things going on outside of myself. Like the only conversation I want to be having really is just like how things are affecting me and my body. I don't want to be making claims to like what other people might be going through, you know?
Yeah. Is there anything that you're working on now that kind of communicates that?
I sketched out like a painting yesterday. I feel like a lot of the like there's like now I'm like starting to excavate like this theme of like these figures just like laying in bed. I'm like making them to like kind of like that's like a placeholder of that energy because like sometimes it's just hard to make moves. It's hard to like have the motivation to get up. So I'm like having all of those things exist in the painting so I could like kind of like just be my own chipper and like energetic self. I mean, having a dog also is helpful with not staying in bed and watching Netflix and eating junk food all day.
Absolutely. Amazing. So you're kind of putting the perhaps negative thoughts, feelings, scenarios onto
Yeah,
paper so that you can leave it behind and carry on.
exactly, exactly, exactly,
Leave it behind and carry on.
exactly, exactly, exactly.
Interesting. Okay. Um, and then you're also a Miami native, correct?
Yeah, yeah, born and raised in Miami and thought I was just gonna like live there my entire life up until I went to graduate school. So I was just there a couple of weeks ago, installing the show and like hanging out with family, and it's just like no place like home. Like the amount of like comfort that I just have, like just like having like that network, having like my friends and family down there. It's something else. It is something else.
Yeah, it's
Also,
definitely a different different vibe, right?
Also, like the warm winters, like I'm all about super hot winters. Like it was so nice just to be sweating in like December.
Absolutely. I'm also from Florida, so I hear you on
Yeah.
that. Um, and so you would probably typically be down there for Art Basel, similar to us. And this year's a little different. You know, some people are still down there, but for year's a little different. You know, some people are still down there, but for those who are in town that are interested in kind of maybe like living a day in the life of Woody, what are some spots that you typically hang out at, like to eat, drink, shop, see art? Where do you tend to maybe spend your time when you're in Miami?
Honestly, it was just like friends, like just going to like a buddy's house or like just spending time at home. I feel like I don't know, like there's like spots that close down. There's like this spot Tap Tap, a Haitian restaurant that closed down. I mean, I feel like everybody knows about Chef Creole, but like I'm definitely trying to get some Haitian food when I'm down there. Some griot, some pickles, some banan, some yeah, but like definitely trying to eat, but like when I'm down there, I'm just like catching up with family. I feel like it's not uncommon for me just to be like vegged out at home watching football with my dad, like and just like messing around with my sister or my mom, just just hanging out. I see people in the comments
Yeah.
like rest in peace Tap Tap.
R.I.P.
Like
Tap
for real.
Tap.
For
And
real. So
the wonderful woman who is saying RIP Tap Tap, Tiana. Hello, Tiana. Thank you for joining us today. She also asked a question earlier and she said, are you Caribbean? So can you tell us a little bit about how your, you know, background and your culture and your heritage kind of impacts your creativity?
um
And maybe answer Tiana that you're Haitian.
yeah, so like both of my parents are from Haiti, and I feel like I don't know, I know that stuff is definitely in there. I feel like it more just like impacts the way that I maneuver and like how I move, right? I feel like Haitians have like this like work ethic, or at least that's how I characterize like Haitian people. You know, we're just like hard working and just like humble and like loving people. It's just like we're all about like humble and like loving people. It's just like we're all about just doing what we have to do. And I feel like having the privilege to be making art, it definitely like helps inform just like how I approach the studio. Just like it's such a privilege to be able to be making stuff. Like I can't take it for granted. So I feel like in that I want to try and be as like honest and truthful as possible. Um, yeah, yeah.
That those are all very true characteristics of all of the Haitian friends that I have. So very eloquently put. Thank you. And we had one more question prior to that as well. And someone asked, what inspires you? It's kind of a blanketed statement and probably a pretty loaded question, but is there anything that, you know, inspires you on the daily that you just can't shake?
Uh, breathing,
Living, surviving
living,
2020.
breathing, living, surviving. I feel like I don't know. Like, yeah, that's just like you ask me that question, it'll be like something different like every day, right? Like I feel like last night I was watching this like Dali documentary and they were talking about like a double image and I'm like that's super inspiring, like just like the double image, like two things existing in one picture or like at the same time simultaneously. Um, I don't know, like sometimes it's like music, sometimes it's like a book, like it's just really like different like every day, right? Like I feel like last night I was watching this like Dali documentary and they were talking about like a double image and I'm like that's super inspiring, like just like the double image, like two things existing in one picture or like at the same time simultaneously. Um, I don't know, like sometimes it's like music, sometimes it's like a book, like it's just really like everything. Like that's the thing, it's so hard to kind of like extricate like a single or like a couple of things. I could tell you I really don't know if that starts to answer some of that question.
Yeah, I think so. You mentioned music and books. Is there anything that you're listening to right now while you're maybe in the studio or just kind of hanging out that you're really into?
I've been listening like the past week. This like I think he's a Bay Area artist. SFV Acid. It's just like some weird like instrumental, like techno-y, like I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of like techno, just like repetitive, like it's something about like not having lyrics right now, like that's like really refreshing. Like I couldn't tell you that I used to really listen to a lot of podcasts and I used to try and read and it just feels like I already have so much mental chatter going on. Like I gotta be listening to something right now that's just like not putting more or adding more into the mental chatter.
Yeah, absolutely. Either calming and soothing or just like totally energetic, but just no words.
Yeah. A lot of like ambient stuff too. Just like it's all over the place, but like no words right now.
Yeah,
Just like it's all over the place, but like no words right now.
yeah, amazing. Okay, so everyone who's watching, please go check out Coming to Light at Nina Johnson Gallery. It's on view through January 30th of next year. And then, is there any upcoming works or shows that we should be aware of at the moment?
I feel like um I don't know, like it's hard to like say for sure because like everybody knows with the past year like things
Yeah,
are planned and then kind of fall through. So I feel like right now I'm just gonna wait to see. It's like I'm excited to be doing. I'm doing a print residency at Paulson Fontaine. It's a little print shop in Berkeley, and I'm supposed to start that on Tuesday. But like with the whole COVID thing, like who knows? Like I'm getting tested for COVID on Sunday, and like I feel like Gavin Newsom might put the state back on lockdown. Jen is saying the fabric workshop too in Philly.
I see
Like
that.
I think that's still yeah, that's still going on. I think so in March, but it's just we'll see. I hope that they happen, but it's just like you got to take it day by day.
Absolutely. Okay, well, we'll keep our eyes open for the print workshop and fabric workshop, and also the John Michael Kohler Art Center show next year. Um,
Yeah,
but until then, go check out Coming to Light, Woody's show at Nina Johnson, and it's also online. Um, and yeah, we're going to save this video in our IGTV as well. So everybody who caught the tail end can check out the full thing. Thank you so much, Woody.
oh, thank you.
It was such a pleasure. And we'll be in touch soon.
Alrighty,
Thanks,
bye,
guys.
peace.